Good morning. We are so happy to be here with you. It's been 4 years, and 4 years ago, my wife and I, Fiorella, and our two kids, we came with Julieta and Daniel. We came and there was a lot of snow. So we were expecting snow, but it seems that, but it's actually better for us. We don't know how to drive in the snow, but we are so happy to be here with you and share what the Lord is doing in our country. We have a new daughter, Samara. She's 2 years old. So you will be able to see them after the service. And we are serving in Argentina, in the country of Argentina. And we want to start with a very short video and then some pictures of what's been going on in these last 4 years. So please go ahead with the...
I am Theo.
I'm Juli.
I am Dani.
And I am Sammy.
We are serving the Lord in the Punilla Valley, in the province of Córdoba, right in the middle of the country of Argentina. Our valley has 15 little towns that don't have any churches that preach the gospel. We are currently working in 2 of these towns, planting and establishing churches. Throughout the years, the Lord has permitted us to preach the gospel and disciple believers in different parts of the valley. Once a group is formed and the leaders trained, we hand over the leadership and continue advancing north in the valley. We do a lot of emphasis in training national men to be the pastors of these churches. The Lord has been good, and it's been a blessing to serve as a family in the Punilla Valley. And we are seeing how God is changing lives and establishing these churches. Argentina is a very Catholic country, and our area is very traditional. People are very materialistic, but they need to hear about Christ. And you don't need to convince an Argentine that God exists. They believe there is a God. But when you get to the part about sin, about Christ, that's when they get offended. But they need to understand that salvation is through Jesus Christ. So, in these towns, we have different strategies to contact people. Each town has its own different idiosyncrasy. Over the years, the Lord opened doors through a variety of ministries in the Punilla Valley, like Bible classes for children in a very poor part of the city, free English lessons for adults, evangelistic house meetings, soccer tournaments for teenagers, drama events, etc. Another town where we are working is called La Falda. There we are having a Bible study in a family's house, and Lord willing, we are planning to start formal church services soon. In these last 3 years, we have also been working in the main town of the valley called Villa Carlos Paz. It's a big city, and there the Lord has been establishing the main church of the valley. We are having discipleship, doctrine classes, women's meetings, men's meetings, and couples meetings. We also had the possibility to start a radio ministry with weekly live programs. We are thankful for God's provision through all these years, and we appreciate your partnership in ministry. We appreciate your prayers. We need many prayer warriors. And our theme verse for ministry is in 1 Kings 18, verse 37. Answer me, Lord, answer me, so these people will know that you, Lord, are God, and that you are turning their hearts back again. That is our prayer for the ministry here in Argentina. God bless you.
There is a saying that a picture, an image is worth more than 1,000 words. So we always like to show pictures of what's been going on in the ministry in Argentina. Next, please. So that's our family. I was born in the north of Argentina, in the border with Paraguay, and my wife is from Uruguay, the country next to Argentina, and we met in her church in a young adults special meeting. Her pastor invited me to preach that night, and that Saturday night we met. And actually, my sister, I have a sister a year younger than me. She went with me to that same meeting, and she met her future husband in that same meeting. So it was a powerful meeting, you know. I always tell young people, do not miss those meetings because you don't know what the Lord has in store for you. But we met, and 1 year and 9 months later, we got married, and the Lord took us to right the middle of the country of Argentina. Next, please. So Argentina is in South America. We are the 8th largest country in territory in the world. We have all the climates. We have deserts. We have jungles. We have the Andes Mountains. And the Lord has blessed us with a lot of resources, natural gas, oil, good soil, a lot of cattle. And Argentina is a very big country. We have 45 it's a very big country in territory, and we have 45 million people right now, and we live right in the middle of the country, 8 hours from the Pacific and 8 hours from the Atlantic. Next, please. And Argentina is known for football, soccer. Sorry, I had to put this picture. But it's part of our culture, and we won the World Cup last year. We teach our kids how to walk by kicking a soccer ball. So you can imagine our obsession with this. It's part of who we are. Next, please. And Argentina is known for our beef, our steaks. It's very cheap. Our whole economy is based on cattle and soybean now. But we have many cows, and we eat a lot of good beef. Next, please. Argentina is also known as the different country of Latin America because we have a lot of influence from Europe. Most of our relatives, our ancestors, come from either Spain or Italy. And we always received immigration from Europe, especially after the Second World War. And we have a mix of cultures. We have a lot of people from Germany, from Ukraine. We have people from France, from Russia. And you will see the architecture in Argentina is very similar to the big cities of Europe. The way we speak is very different from the other Spanish-speaking countries. The way we think, our culture, our food. We don't eat spicy food, for example, in Argentina. So we are called the different country of South America. Next, please. We have the gauchos, very traditional, our cowboys. They take care of the cattle. They dress that way. They use GPS now, but they are very traditional in the way they dress. Next, please. And some famous Argentines. The Pope, the Catholic Pope, he's from Argentina. So you can imagine how proud Catholics are in Argentina. They have their Argentine Pope, you know. And the Queen of the Netherlands, Maxima, she's from Argentina also. Next, please. And we are seeing some New Age and atheism, mostly between the young people. They don't want to believe in anything. Next, please. And as we were explaining in Sunday school, our goal is to establish autonomous churches in the Punilla Valley, right in the middle of Argentina, in the province of Córdoba. This valley has 100 miles from south to north, and this is the pre-Andes region. It's a very beautiful area. We have lakes, we have mountains, and there's one road that goes through the middle of the valley and 15 little towns with no churches that preach the gospel. We have Catholic churches and Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses, but no churches that actually open the Bible and preach what God says, and they don't preach the gospel. So our prayer, our dream is that one day we will see at least one church in each of these 15 towns. They go from 500 people, 1,000 people, to the biggest one that has 90,000 people right in the south of the city, of the valley. And that's where we live, in the city of Villa Carlos Paz. And the Lord has permitted us to work in 3 of these towns, establishing churches, and now we are with this new church plant in a 4th town. So we work alongside 2 other couples, and we are serving with Biblical Ministries Worldwide. This is a mission board in Lawrenceville, Georgia. We have been serving with them for 7 years now, and they have a very good biblical philosophy of planting churches. In Sunday school, I went through all the details of that, but basically is what the Apostle Paul did. He went, he evangelized, he preached the gospel, and then he did discipleship, and then he trained men to be leaders of these churches. And when they were ready, he went to another town and did the same. So we believe that this is biblical, and this really works because God blesses this approach to church planting ministry, and it has been wonderful to serve with BMW. They have 600 missionaries all over the world doing church planting ministry. Next, please. And we started working in this small town called Vialet-Macé. They have only 5,000 people, and they have a lot of problems with addictions in that town. They have a lot of drugs, a lot of alcohol. Actually, this road that goes through the valley is a main highway for drugs that come from Colombia and Bolivia, from the north. They go to Argentina, and they go through our valley. So there's a lot of addictions in our area. And this town was had a lot of issues with this. And we started having activities for children. Every Saturday we had soccer tournaments, games, we played with them, and then we had a lunch, we ate together, and then a Bible class, a Bible lesson. And after several months, the parents started to arrive to the church and asking us, what did you do to my kid? He doesn't steal anymore. She doesn't say bad words anymore. What happened? And we told them we didn't do anything. It was Christ. And through these events, we were able to reach the parents, and parents were saved. And then we started having a Bible study for them, and then formal worship services on Sundays. And it was a blessing to see this group being raised. And then we trained 2 men to be the leaders of these churches. Our prayer, our dream was to have to send everybody to a Bible Institute, but it's very hard. It's very expensive. So we started having like a Bible Institute in the church at night, going through the doctrines, going through homiletics, hermeneutics, everything necessary for a church, for a man to be able to share in an expository way the Word of God. And what we saw in many ministries, in many places, is that sadly, when the missionary dies or when he moves, the church collapses because nobody knows what to do. And we don't want that to happen. So from day one, we tell the people, we are planting a church here, so one day we will leave. And from this group, at least one man has to stand up and be the leader. So we do a lot of emphasis in training men to be the leaders of these churches. And of course, training women to teach other women, men and women, how to teach kids, teenagers, those that know how to play instruments, how to play Christian music, those that are good with numbers, how to keep the accounting books, everything necessary for a church to function in an independent way when the missionary is not there anymore. So this was in Vialet-Macé, and when we saw that these men were ready, we handed over the local leadership to them, and they and we went and did the same in somewhere else. We're very happy to see that now this church, they are starting another church. So we are very happy that they understood the concept of reproducing the church. Next, please. And for these last 3 years, almost 4, we have been working in the main town of the valley, Villa Carlos Paz. This town has 90,000 people, and I don't know if you remember, 4 years ago, we asked that you pray for this new church plant. And when we arrived to Argentina, we arrived in the last plane that was admitted into Argentina before COVID, the COVID lockdown. Ours was the last plane, literally. And we arrived, and the president said nobody leaves or enters the country. And we were kind of discouraged because we thought, how can you plant a church if you can't even go outside your house? In Argentina, it was very strict, the lockdown. But we started having a Zoom Bible study. And you know how with Zoom, you can send the link to your contacts, to friends, and they will connect to the Bible study, online Bible study. And suddenly we were seeing in the screen a lot of little faces, people we did not know, but they had received the link from a contact and a friend of a friend, and suddenly the screen was full of people. And we were like that for some time, And after the lockdown was finished, we said, let's get together, let's see each other. And we were able to rent a living room in a dining room in a hotel. And we started having Sunday meetings, and then we were able to rent a bigger building in a main avenue. And so we were so surprised to see how God had better plans than ours, and how He formed this church. This church grew very fast. Next, please. Next, please. And we are excited to see the group growing. Next, please. A lot of people started having a lot of spiritual questions after COVID. They were scared. Why? If God is good, why is this happening? And they want an answer. So we started receiving a lot of people with spiritual questions. Our sign says Iglesia Bíblica, which means Bible church. And people will call us and tell us, why is your church called that way? And we tell them, well, because we open the Bible and we teach the Bible. And they said, oh, that's amazing. I've never heard something like that. And it's kind of sad, actually, because churches are supposed to be biblical, but we had a lot of people arriving because of that sign, that said Bible church. And also a lot of people that were tired of these prosperity gospel churches, and they started arriving, seeking for more depth. They wanted to go deeper into the scriptures, and they are very happy that we teach the Bible. So we've been receiving a lot of people in these last years. Next, please. And next, please. And we have all the same activities we did in the other churches. Next, please. And like I said, we do a lot of emphasis in training men to be leaders. Of course, the family has to go support them. They need to have a good testimony with their wives, with their daughters, with their sons, their family. And when the congregations see that they are ready and they have a good testimony, then they become leaders of the church. Of this group, we have 5 men that are rotating in preaching every Sunday. So it's a blessing to see how the group is growing in that area. Next, please. Also, women's meetings or small group in the houses. We've seen that this has become very good for evangelizing. Next, please. Couples meetings. Next, please. Prayer meetings. We do a lot of emphasis in prayer meetings. Like I was explaining this morning, God knows our circumstances. He knows what we're going through, but He wants to see in us. He wants to see in us that dependence, that humbleness, that humility in going to Him, asking for His guidance. Next, please. Next, please. And 2 years ago, we were thinking of more creative ways to reach the valley, and we found out this radio station, this secular radio station. It's not Christian, but they have a very strong antenna, and they reach the whole valley. And we went to talk to the owner, and he said, okay, I'll give you an opportunity. And he let us have twice a week at night, 1 hour each night. And we started with a live program. And this was a challenge to us. We had no experience with radio, but we said, well, let's see what happens. And we didn't want to have a sermon every program, because people are not used to listening to sermons. We wanted the program to be interactive. So we started with 6 questions that every human being asks at one point of his life or her life. Why am I here? What happens after death? If God is good, why do bad things happen? What is the meaning of everything? And we gave a number, and people will text or call, and we always guided the conversation towards the gospel. And it was a great way to get the church to be known in the valley, and the people to call and interact. It was a blessing. Next, please. Sophia and I had to also learn how to use the board. We had no idea how to do that, the sound board. But we praise the Lord for this radio. Next, please. Movie events, especially on special occasions during the year, like Easter. Next, please. It's a great way to get to know new families in the community. Next, please. And then 2 years and a half ago, we started having a Bible study in La Falda. La Falda is a town an hour and 15 minutes away from us to the north. And there, 3 families get together in a living room. And it's been wonderful to see them growing. And they want to take the next step. And we are planning on renting a building when we return in April. So we will be focusing our attention, our efforts in this new church plant in the city of La Falda. La Falda has 16,000 people. Like I was explaining this morning, it's a town with a lot of spiritual darkness, a lot of New Age movement and drugs in that area, and no churches that preach the gospel. Next, please. We're always eating in our meetings. Next, please. So please be praying for La Falda. Next, please. About us, we are living on approximately 85% of our required support level. Our prayer is that the Lord will provide us close to 100 of our support level as possible. We know that God will continue to provide. Argentina has gone through a terrible economic crisis. This year we had 130% of inflation in this year, and it's not over yet. We had elections last Sunday, and we are happy because a more conservative candidate won. So we'll see how this goes, but please be praying for Argentina. We know that God will continue to provide. Next, please. Thank you for your prayers. We know that you are praying. We always enjoy receiving your emails, your Facebook comments, the interaction with you. We always say that this is a very friendly church. Last furlough when we were here, we were able to meet most of you, I think. That week we were here, so it's been wonderful to see you and see that you are really caring for missions. And I want to share with you a brief passage. I won't preach very long, but it's very hard to preach in another language, but I want to share with you some verses that have become very important for us in ministry. In Luke chapter 17, Luke chapter 17, verse 11. Luke chapter 17, verse 11 until verse 19. Now, on his way to Jerusalem, Jesus traveled along the border between Samaria and Galilee. As he was going into a village, 10 men who had leprosy met him. They stood at a distance and called out in a loud voice, "Jesus, Master, have pity on us." When he saw them, he said, "Go, show yourself to the priests." And as they went, they were cleansed. One of them, when he saw he was healed, came back, praising God in a loud voice. He threw himself at Jesus' feet and thanked him, and he was a Samaritan. Jesus asked, "Were not all 10 cleansed? Where are the other 9? Has no one returned to give praise to God except this foreigner?" Then he said to him, "Rise and go, your faith has made you well." So I am not going to teach something new. You have 2 great pastors that teach every Sunday. I just want us to be reminded of 3 characteristics that we will see in a thankful heart. 3 things that you and I will see if our hearts are thankful. And the first thing we can see is that a thankful heart expresses externally what God means in his life. It will express to the outside, it will express externally what God means in his life. And we know the context of this miracle. Jesus was traveling all over Israel. He was preaching, he was teaching, and he was doing great marvels and miracles. And the purpose of these miracles was to show that no one could do these things if it not were for the power of God in them. Jesus' objective was not only to fix health issues. This was only the means so that people would recognize that he was God, and that through admitting this, they will believe in him. So, in this occasion, we see Jesus healing these lepers, showing that his supernatural power came from God, giving them physical relief and a miraculous improvement. And to be a leper in that age, in those days, it was a terrible thing. There was no cure, no medicine for that. Lepers were discriminated. They could not live inside the cities. The city had limits, mostly walls. They had to live outside the city limits. And they relied on the mercy of people. They could not work inside the city. They could not be with their families. They could not do anything related to society. They lived outside of the cities, and the people will go and throw food at them, like dogs. So it was very, very sad to be a leper. It was very bad. So we see what Jesus did. This amazing miracle is one of the most greatest miracles we see in the New Testament. But sadly, we see that